Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This evening, we are in the process of finding Higley a new superintendent. And so I thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to our board members, community members, our students and staff. Thank you for joining us either in person or online. Tonight, we have our 3 finalists this evening, and they will be sharing about themselves and their career, and then also sharing why Higley. So in 20 minutes, they're going to tell us all of that. And then after we're done with that part, we'll move into question and answer, where I will facilitate the questions for the candidates. The questions have been selected from the survey that was sent out to the entire community, as well as our staff and students to participate in. This was done a few months ago. Each finalist will have the 20 minutes to introduce themselves, and like I said, the 25 each finalist will have the 25 minutes to answer the questions. We would appreciate your feedback this evening, please. We have a QR code on a small sheet of paper over there, but the survey will only be open for a short period of time, and that's from this evening, starting at 6 o'clock, until tomorrow at noon. And the reason for that is because the board needs to see the results tomorrow afternoon as they go on their journey to the finalization of what candidate they're going to be selecting. Let's see. Just for the future, what comes next after this interview, of course, is tomorrow with the board members. And then after that, the board will make a decision on March 4th to bring forth a candidate and make that public. So with that being said, I have our first finalist here tonight, Dr. Erica Copeland. Please help me welcome her tonight. Okay. I do. Let's see. Make sure I get that. There we go. Dr. Copeland, you're all set.
Thank you. Yes, I'll take the hand. And this is my clicker. Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to, before I begin, thank ultimately the governing board. I appreciate this opportunity to come and speak to the community of Higley. I'm honored and I'm humbled for this opportunity, and I'm also very excited. So thank you very much. I'm Erica Copeland, and I have been tasked with telling you a little bit about myself. I have 10 minutes, and so I have more content probably on my slides than I will talk about, but you're welcome to read some of my thoughts that I included. And so the objective is I would like for you to learn a little bit about who I am and what I believe. And so I focus a little bit on my credentials, but I have the credentials and the education, or I wouldn't be here. So I'd like you to really get to know a little bit more about me personally, and what the driving forces are behind my career, and how passionate I am about working with students. So I'll start with sharing a couple core educational values and some examples of how I have applied them in my profession. I'm going to share with you an overview of my career experience, and then offer also a tiny glimpse of who I am beyond my professional career. So with that, I'm going to begin with some core values. Student success is something that I have dedicated my entire adult life to. I feel passionate about preparing students, helping them to reach their highest potential. It's very important to me that students are not only successful within our K-12 system, but I think that we have a responsibility to ensure students' success beyond high school, and into our students' lives and future careers. And so that is something that I have focused on quite a bit within my career. And so I'm going to highlight one area that really shows my passion for student success and some of the work that I've done to promote that. and I'm going to talk about innovation and choice. I have had the great opportunity to be part of a team that has opened 7 new schools, and we are currently in the construction phase of an 8th new school in the past 10 years. And so that has provided a lot of opportunity for how can we build innovation as we are building these new campuses and offer choice for our parents. We know that choice is important to families, as it should be, and that's something that we want to try to offer to meet the needs of our families. So something that I'm really proud of is leading the planning and programming for 2 brand new high schools within my district, and these are comprehensive 712 schools that have a career path academy focus. And so what that means is that we were able to design these schools with career path academies, amazing labs and maker spaces and opportunities for hands-on learning for our students. Our students are able to graduate from high school with industry certificates and preparation for their next step in their career. It's something I've been very proud of, something that has been very well received by our community, because not only is that promoting that success while they are in our high schools, but we're really setting them up for success beyond high school. So that is my example for that value. The next core value, safe learning environment. Safety is extremely important to me. It is a top priority. I understand that students can't be successful. They're not going to learn at their highest levels if they are not in a safe learning environment. And so couple things that I'll share with you about the area of safety. Again, through building new campuses, and we have had the opportunity to have a voter-approved bond in place, and so able to bring the buildings and that physical safety up to date in all of our campuses. We've done that through physical barriers to the campus, ensuring that there's a single point of entry on all of our campuses, things like safety glass, access onto our campuses through being buzzed in and out. And so those physical safety pieces. A second area that I'd love to share with you is our partnerships with local law enforcement. My team and I have been able to build amazing partnerships with our local law enforcement. We meet monthly with Mesa PD and Queen Creek PD to talk about concerns within our schools, within our community, and really problem solve and partner together to make sure that our schools are safe. They've helped us with audits and provided feedback. Something that I'm proud of that has come out of that partnership would be we have created a safety video. This was probably 2 years ago, I think, is when we implemented this, about the power of words. And so a concern that we have had is a threatening language, right, that happens with students sometimes. And so really trying to educate students and parents about the seriousness of that, whether it be said out of anger, whether kids think they're joking, there's really power behind that. And so we collaborated with the local law enforcement, our SROs, and created an educational informational video that all students watch twice a year in 2nd through 12th grade. We send that link out to the parents. They also sign off on our parent handbook. And I can tell you the data has shown that in the past 2 years, we've had a significant decrease in our discipline in the area of threats. So it's been extremely successful, and that has come out of that partnership with our local law enforcement. The next core value that I wanted to highlight, family and community partnerships. I firmly believe that education is a shared responsibility. I think it is very important for our schools to partner with the parents, with the community, so that our students can be successful. And so I just shared a few things that, systems that we have in place that I have been able to be part of. There's similar things that you have happening in Higley Unified School District, but good opportunities to connect with our community and our families. I'm able to present and highlight some of our programs, and those would be through things like a cafe structure, which is community and family engagement, business partner breakfasts, multiple committees with lots of stakeholders. I was a coordinator of our strategic planning plan, vision and mission, financial. We had a bond oversight committee with stakeholders and parents for a bond that we had in place. And also, I think it's really important to be involved with your local agencies like the Queen Creek Chamber. I was part of the education committee that works to organize a large workforce event for juniors across the East Valley called E4T, and then partnering with our town of Queen Creek. We have joint board meetings with the town and with our governing board, and I've had the opportunity to present on programming and some of our safety protocols. And next, trust and transparent communication. This is the heart of who I am. My strength is building trust through positive communication, through being transparent. I think it is very important to keep our families informed of what's happening in our schools. I would work closely with our governing board to keep them informed of what's happening. I think it's really important to, a mentor early on shared with me that the importance of not only sharing the good news, but we need to share when there's challenges and news that's maybe not so good as well. And that's what transparency is. If it's something that should be knowledge, that should be known, it's going to be known, it's going to be communicated. So this next slide, going to talk to you a little bit about my over 27 years in public education. I, of course, started as a classroom teacher. I started out my career in Mesa Public Schools. And something that sometimes happens in education, you're in the classroom and you're a teacher and you are seeing these amazing results and you're feeling great about the positive impact that is happening on the students in your classroom, and you think, well, how could I expand my reach? How could I positively impact more students? And that kind of prompts us teachers to then move into some sort of school leadership role, and that's what I did. After, I think, 6 years in the classroom, I became this position. It had a unique title at the time, but it was a dean/assistant to the principal who traveled to multiple campuses and worked with students, discipline, teacher evaluations, all the things that an assistant principal took care of. And it was an amazing experience. I got to know the community better because I was traveling to multiple sites. And got to learn from a lot of mentors, different leadership styles and things that were happening on their campuses. After that, I got my first principal job in Queen Creek Unified School District. That was in 2005. I was a principal for 9 years, one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. Just loved it, loved being with the kids, loved working with the teachers, and creating that environment for our students so that they could succeed and thrive. And so 9 years of that, loved it, was able to, as a principal, the school that I took over, led that school to its first A label, A and excelling. They used to have an excelling label with the state of Arizona, and also the first elementary school in the district to receive the A+ Award of Excellence. And that's because I had an amazing team. I had great teachers and staff who loved kids, cared about kids, and worked really hard every day to make it a great place. So that was my experience as a principal. Next, I went into a district leadership role. I started out as a coordinator of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And I did that for a short time. We had some changes in my district. And so the next year, I became the executive director over human resources and academic services. And so that was a challenging time in my career. I had a big learning curve, but I enjoyed it immensely, and I learned a lot. And these are things that I can draw from in the position of superintendent that will really help me to support a school district. So I was an executive director for I think 6 years, predominantly K-12 academic services, which is basically all of teaching and learning. And after that, I became an assistant superintendent. I was promoted to that role and did that role for 3 years, again, on the teaching and learning side of the house with that. And I am currently an associate superintendent for Queen Creek Unified School District. In my role, I oversee, there's kind of two sides of the house, teaching and learning and operations. I oversee and support all of the educational services, which includes curriculum, professional development, special education, grants management, educational technology, just to name a few. So I'm getting a lot of great experiences. I am able to impact student learning. I also supervise safety and security, athletics. And so again, I just have had a great opportunity being in a growing district to get a lot of experiences that I think that I will be able to apply as the position of superintendent. And then lastly, here's just a little bit about me personally. That's my family there in the center. The gentleman in the black shirt is my husband, Chris. We were high school sweethearts, and we've been married for 27 years. We have 2 children, as you can see. My son there on the far left, he is a senior in high school and has been accepted into the ASU College of Engineering for information technology. Cybersecurity is what he's really interested in. So we're super proud of him, and we're really looking forward to that time of his life and in our lives. And then my daughter's next to him. She is a junior in high school. She is a cheerleader. So, if you wonder where I spend my free time and my free money, yes, thank you. I knew somebody would get it. If you know, you know, right? But it's amazing. We have enjoyed it so much watching her cheer all through junior high and high school. And then on the right, I had to add pictures of my pups there on the bottom. We love our pups. My husband is a big aviation enthusiast. That's kind of in his blood of his family, being involved in aviation. And so that's something that we like to be involved with as well. We like to travel. We love the beach. We love to play board games. And so really the family is so important to me, and that's just a little bit about me personally. And that's the end of my introduction to myself. And so how's my timing? 3 minutes? Oh boy. All right, I'm going to go really fast. So the next question was, why Higley Unified School District? 5 big ideas came to mind: the students, the community, the teachers and staff, opportunities for growth, and I think I'm a great fit for Higley, and Higley is also a great fit for me. So students, the heart of Higley, it's the fundamental purpose that we're all here, right? This is the work that we're doing. It's for students. I am committed to creating the best possible learning environment for our students. It is near and dear to my heart. It's what I've done for my whole career. So I would love to be able to provide that support to our students and help lead Higley to make sure that our students are getting the best possible education possible. The next big idea is community, the Higley family. And I can tell you, Higley truly feels like a family. I had the pleasure of visiting a few schools today, and just the culture was amazing. The kids were amazing. The teachers and principal, I truly felt like I was at home. That's something that I love about Higley, and that has drawn me to Higley. I've been in public education in the East Valley for 27 years, so I really feel like I'm part of the community. We're a close-knit community of educators. I have lots of connections within the community. I'm a Higley aunt. I have niece and nephews who attend Higley schools. I believe in the community values within Higley and the East Valley. I think we're very family focused and family centered, and as you saw from my previous slides, that's something that's huge and important to me. Relationships, I have a ton of positive professional relationships and friendships within Higley. The people that I have met and worked with in Higley are a key reason on why I would love to be part of the Higley family. And then, of course, making an impact in the community. Serving the community is important to me, and the way that I have done that has been through public education. I'm going to go really quick through these next. Teachers and staff, the champions of learning. I want to support our staff. I want to provide them the resources that they need for their classrooms, and that is something that I'm looking for. Teachers have made a huge impact on who I am today as a person, and I want to support them.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then here's my opportunities for growth. Higley has some opportunities for growth with enrollment, and I have some experience with that and some ideas on how to help that. I know that we recently had an override renewal that did not pass, and so I would love to work with the team to strategize on how to help with that. And then that fiscal responsibility, because both of those things impact our budget.
Dr. Copeland, we're going to head into questions now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start. We have 25 minutes for questions, okay?
All right.
The first question, how would you plan to foster strong relationships with parents, community members, and local businesses to support the district's success?
So I think the there's a few key points to that. Number one, being visible and being involved and engaged in the community. That means being out in the community. That means being at school events and really being out there, meeting people, talking to people, building those relationships. That includes being involved in the community through things like the chamber. And so I think that's the key to that. Number two, building trust through transparent communication. If I'm open and concise and honest with my communication, I feel like that's the best way to build the trust of the community, and that's how we're going to partner and work together. And so I would love to kind of be that bridge to continue to build the trust between Higley Unified and that community. So those are two of the big ways that I would engage with our families and our community and business partners.
Thank you. Question number 2. What is your approach to school safety, and how would you work with law enforcement and staff to keep students safe?
Okay, well, I feel like I have covered some of that with my presentation, but I'll go into a little more detail. Again, building those partnerships, I think working very closely, they are the experts, right, in safety, and having them do safety audits and walks on our campus, and monitoring our drills, and then providing us feedback so that we are able to improve our practices and our processes based on that feedback from the experts in that area is so important. We have SROs on our campuses, right? I know that Higley just got a grant for an SSO at the junior high, and so working closely with those folks to help keep our schools safe and to build connections with students are some of the ways that I would work with law enforcement to ensure the safety of our schools.
Thank you. Question 3. What steps would you take to improve parent and community involvement in the decision-making process?
So I think it's important, number one, to listen. But in order to do that, you need to provide some opportunities. And so I would work to provide opportunities for parents and community to be involved in the decision making. I've been involved in multiple committees and with a large variety of stakeholders who are able to share their ideas, give their input, and all of that is taken into consideration when you're making decisions. And so it's really providing that opportunity. I think surveys, questionnaires are a good way to give parents a voice and give them an opportunity to provide some of that feedback as well. But really listening, right? So you can ask for the feedback and you can collect that information, but really being responsive to it as well and making it meaningful. A meaningful experience for our families and parents, and inviting them into committees. There's lots of opportunities, having public forums, things like this, where you can share information and do presentations on things that are going on in the campuses, presenting at our governing board meetings. Those are some of the ways that I would do that.
Thank you. Why is an affordable, quality public education available to all children important to society as a whole?
Sure. Well, we're building the future leaders, right, of our community, and that's huge. We have a big responsibility for that, and we need to make sure that we're providing our students with the skills and the knowledge in order to be leaders, to be critical thinkers, to be successful in the workforce. And so, can you repeat that, Karen? I think I'm missing half of the. Do you mind repeating that one? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Why is an affordable, quality public education available to all children important to society as a whole?
Sure. Okay. That's what public education is all about, right? We teach all kids. Whoever comes through our door, we're going to teach them. We're going to provide them the opportunities to be successful, to reach their highest potential. We offer the opportunity for kids to be exposed to a diverse group of students and people, and so that is going to be very important for them when they go out into the real world, into the workforce, and they have to collaborate with people and be part of a team. So, that's the importance of public education, that we meet all kids where they are, and we try to move them to the highest point that they can possibly become, and we just open our arms and accept them, and that's the beauty of public education, and we're creating the future citizens. If we are building strong leaders and students who are civic-minded and have the skills and knowledge that they need. We're building that foundation for this community to not only remain strong, but to grow. And the students that we're working with are the ones who are going to be doing that.
Thank you. Do you think public education is adequately preparing students for life after graduation? If yes, give an example. If no, how would you work with the board and community to better prepare our students?
Sure, I think for the most part we are being successful for that, and one of the ways that we do that is obviously that the fundamental core instruction, right? We need to make sure that our students are learning those fundamental core pieces. As a system, we're also providing lots of opportunity for extracurricular activities. We want well-rounded individuals who are leaving our schools, and so those are some of the things that we do. Something that I'm very passionate about, and that I know that I am focusing on my career is really helping students to explore their interests and their passions and help them come up with a plan for what they want to do with their future. And I think that's one of the best ways that we can prepare our students for the future, for their lives after they leave our K-12 system, so with career exploration, with helping them to understand if this is what you're interested in, what's your skill set that goes along with that? What would the education that might be required? And really helping them to leave high school with a strong plan for their future and for the career path that they're interested in.
What is your philosophy on curriculum oversight, and how will you ensure all materials align with Arizona state standards?
Well, I think first of all, you start with policy, right? We have policies and procedures in place for adopting curriculum, and you follow that process. You follow our policy. You take things for the public review and receive that feedback and evaluate that. And so that's certainly one of the ways that we do that. I work very closely with our K-12 principals, and so one of the ways that I try to help ensure that is reviewing policy, reviewing expectations at our principal meetings, and having them bring that back to their teachers and their staff. And they're monitoring their curriculums, their instruction through classroom walkthroughs. And so you make sure that you're following your policies and your procedures, and you hold people accountable to follow those policies and procedures as well.
What is the biggest challenge you think our students and our educators face? How would you address these issues?
That's a great question. I think that we live in a very complex world, and so I think some of there's a variety of challenges that our students are facing, and I think, and I know, that schools are a place that students can learn the skills to work through those challenges. So it could be, academic challenges, and so are we providing that support, that intervention, that differentiation? We have students who are dealing with personal problems, and so are we helping them with the skills that they need, the life skills, to be able to work through those problems? And so I don't know that there's one particular problem that I would identify. For teachers, I think we work with students who have a lot of different needs. and there's a variety of skill levels. And so I think one of the biggest challenges for teachers is making sure that they are evaluating and determining how are they going to meet the needs of all students. And a lot of that comes with differentiating and really meeting individual needs. It's not a one-size-fits-all for our students, and so we have to work really hard to make sure that we're meeting all of those individual needs, and that's something that is certainly challenging for our educators.
What leadership strategies will you use to foster a positive and accountable work culture among staff and administration?
So the positivity piece, I think, kind of falls back on being visible, right? Being out at schools, being engaged, showing that I care and what they're doing is important to me. I think helps build that positive culture. I also know that there's a ton of great things happening in Higley, and we need to celebrate those successes. We need to recognize people for their hard work and celebrate that. And so that's one of the ways that you can build that positive culture. Providing support and resources that our schools need. That's our purpose at the district level, is we are the support for the schools, and we're here to help them with what they need so that they're able to teach our students and take them to the highest level. So those are certainly some ways that you can build a positive culture. I think that trust plays a role in that. I believe it's important for us to not only provide that support, but provide that consistency, do what we say we're going to do. All of the things that build that trusting relationship are things that build a positive culture.
In your current position, how have you attracted and retained teachers?
Sure, in a variety of ways, right? One way that you do that is you're doing great things for kids, and you've built that positive culture, and you share your stories, and you make sure that people know all the great things that are happening in your district so that they want to come be part of that. I think it's important to support teachers. I was able to start a new teacher mentorship program within our district and utilized my team and my coaches to support new teachers. And that is something that I think plays a huge role in retaining, especially teachers who are brand new to the profession. I think it's important that when you're working with your budgets, that you're doing everything you can to have robust compensation and benefit packages for teachers. We're never going to be able to pay them as much as they deserve to make, but we really need to be cognizant of how we are using our budget and making sure that we're able to provide compensation. And that goes along with having good salary schedules, right, that will attract teachers. If you go back to your previous question, having a positive district culture. People want to work somewhere that's positive, and sometimes that is something that will attract and retain people more so than those benefits that I'm speaking of. They want to be part of something that's bigger. They want to have a purpose, and so helping them to have that vision, that shared vision for excellence in Higley is certainly a way that that we can attract and retain our teachers.
How have you engaged the community in supporting public schools? Please provide us with some examples.
I think one of the ways that I have done that would be through the promotion of some voter initiatives. and sharing factual information, making sure that the community knows directly where those funds are going and how they'll be impacting the classroom, um, is certainly a way that I have done that. And Karen, I'm sorry, will you repeat one more time for me?
How have you engaged the community in supporting public schools? Provide us with some examples.
Okay. Again, having opportunities for the community to be involved. We have kind of an initiative this year to increase parent engagement. And so we have tried to provide lots of opportunities to get parents on our campus. We want parents to be welcome on our campus and be involved. And so we've increased volunteering opportunities, events on campus that we're inviting the parents to be part of. And so those are some great ways to engage parents. Again, I think having that open communication, being visible, being out there so that I'm available to parents would be another way that I would accomplish that.
What have you done to better the community in which you live in, and how were you involved in that?
Well, I think being a public servant through public education is a really powerful way to benefit your community. Again, these children that we're working with are the future of that community. And so whatever we can do to help grow them, help them be successful, set those high expectations, are ways that I personally have benefited my community. I've also been involved in different initiatives throughout our district, and really provided opportunities for our families to be involved. And so I think by doing that, we're helping our community. Honestly, I think that the work that we do is some of the most important work. Our students are with us for the majority of the day. Sometimes they're spending more time at school than they are with their families, and I take that responsibility extremely seriously. And being a mother, I know what it feels like to want the best for your child, and that's really what I'm trying to provide for our community.
Tell me about a time when you were able to bring people of different views together and make hard choices.
I think that strategic planning process that we did several years ago, we had engaged probably over 100 different stakeholders through some focus groups and committee work. And we certainly did not all have the exact same vision of what those priorities were. And so we spent a lot of time working together and collaborating and having dialogue and discussion in order to bring people together. Ultimately, we needed to come to consensus on what those strategic priorities were going to be, and what some of those indicators and goals were. And so it was an amazing process, but it certainly was a lengthy process, and it required for all voices to be heard and considered, so that we could end up with a final product that we felt like was really reflective of the entire community. In addition to that, the focus groups, we also did some we sent out an affinity question to our community, asking them, what is it that schools would need to do to meet the needs of students to choose their top thing. And we had over 1,400 responses to that, and then went through some activities to categorize that. And so I feel like those voices all came together, and we were able to work through it and hash through it, and came up with a plan that is really reflective of what our community wants for their local schools.
Well, you did very well in the sense of answering all my questions. I have one more, and that's it. So, how do you see yourself effectively gaining the support of our community?
Well, I would start with, I would start how I did tonight, right? I would communicate with the community what I'm about, what I believe in, my heart for students and educators and public education. Um, and I think that goes a long way for people to know and understand who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for. Um, I would be extremely involved in the community. I will be out there meeting people, getting to know people, and communicating frequently. And I think that's a really important way for people to get to know me. Um, and and I think that if I'm present, if I'm engaged, if I'm willing to listen, that's the perfect opportunity for people to understand who I am and why I want to lead Higley, and how much love I have for this community and for our teachers and students and for our staff.
Dr. Copeland, you have a minute left if you'd like to say anything else.
I went short on the other one, and now I have time for this one. I just want to say, educators, school, I think, has played such a huge role in my life. I feel like it has made me the person that I am today. I would not have the success that I've had in my personal and professional life without my teachers and coaches and principals. And I feel so strongly, and I'm so committed to ensuring that Higley Unified School District is providing that for all of their students. And I would love the opportunity to be able to collaborate and work with the community and the staff and build a strong team so that we can not only continue the great things that are already happening in Higley, but really move us forward. I'm a big believer in continuous improvement. We can always improve, we can always move forward, and I would love to be the driving force as part of the team for us to be able to do that for our Higley students.
Thank you, Dr. Copeland.
Thank you.
We will have our next forum at 6 o'clock. Oh, 7 o'clock, excuse me. Good evening. Thank you for those who continue to be with us this evening and have joined us. We are in the midst of finding a new superintendent for Higley Unified School District. And we welcome our board members, our community, students, and staff, and we thank you for joining us this evening in person and online. Tonight, we have our second finalist who will share with us about themselves as well as why Higley, and then we have some questions for him. Each finalist has 20 minutes for their introduction and why Higley, and then they will have 25 minutes for questions and answers, concluding after 45 minutes. We appreciate feedback. Please use our survey, the QR code, and please do that as soon as possible. We will be closing the survey tomorrow at noon so that the board has the information when they go into their executive session tomorrow. Decision will be made and announced and approved at the board meeting on March 4th. So now let me introduce our second finalist, Mr. David Latzenheiser.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is David Latzenheiser, and I'm excited to talk to you tonight about why I would like to be the next superintendent of the Higley Unified School District. But before I jump in, there's really an issue that we have to talk about. There's an elephant in the room that I think a lot of you guys are probably wondering about, maybe thinking about, and that is, how do you say my name? Okay, it 13 letters long, it rolls off the tongue. Phonetically, it's very easy. Lot, Zen, Hai, and Zer. All right? When I was a kid, I never got to put it all in the bubbles. We stopped after 11, and I was Lots and Heis. Okay? But I also go by a lot of different names. I've been around for a long time. You can call me Mr. L. A lot of people still call me Coach Lots, Dave, David, or the one that the kids grabbed onto the most, and perhaps even some former board members, and that would be Big Lots. And so I'll go by any of those, okay, and I still don't understand where that one comes from, but anyway, I'll go by any of those names and jumping in, but Latzenheiser is how it is. So today I'm going to talk about my family, I'm going to talk about my education, I'm going to talk about my professional journey, and then we're going to get into why Higley. So I'd be remiss, the most important people in my life, and the reason that I'm doing what I am and why I have the opportunity is my family. And if for you to know me, you know that I'm family first. And so I'd like to thank, they're in this row right here supporting me today, and thank you so much for being here. Rarely do they get to see Dad in action, but I've been married to Sarah now, and she's also a teacher. We'll get our 27th anniversary. That's going to happen this summer. My oldest son, Thomas, is at work tonight, so he can't join us, but he wants to be like Dad and be a high school math teacher, and so he's studying to follow in the footsteps. My daughter, Abigail, is studying architecture. She's down at U of A. Matter of fact, right now, she's sitting in the McHale Center waiting for tip-off against Utah. And then my youngest, Ethan, is in 7th grade. He's here with me tonight. He's really into chess, and for those of you who have middle school kids, he's really into Marvel Rivals. And so if you need to talk about all of the different characters, he's your guy to go to. But my family is the most important, but this is why I do what I do, right? And when people ask me, hey, what do you do? How I respond is I try to be the best husband, father, and son. And then they'll be like, oh, I mean your job. Okay, I have a job, but really who I am is my family, and that's who represents me and who I try to represent to make them proud. But let's talk about really, okay, and if you have doodles, you know. Who runs our house are these two. Okay, that's Sunny and Daisy, and we got them during the pandemic, like many of you. These two, Daisy is a wonderful little dog who now has decided that her favorite chew toy are AirPods, and so we have to be very, very careful at our house. But for those of you who are doodles and dog lovers, that's our two. You know, there's a lot of people that have influenced me as I've grown through my career and my life, but I really need to shout out somebody who's really an important part of who I am, and that's my dad. And so my father was a career educator in the East Valley. He was a longtime elementary school principal in Wickenburg, Arizona, and then in Apache Junction. And then when he retired, he worked for one of the Indian tribes as their director of education. But he's been a huge influence on me and helped guide me in how I make decisions. And 8 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer way too early. And when that happened, I made a decision that I'm going to spend as much time with my pops as I can. And so you'll see our pictures up there. We're rabid U of A people. Matter of fact, he's with my daughter at the McHale Center. She took my ticket tonight at the Utah game. But we made a commitment to spend as much time as we can with each other, because going back again, when you want to know who I am, then you need to know about me and my family. And that's the big influences that I have. So my educational path, I grew up in a little town called Wickenburg. If you know where Wickenburg is, you're driving to Vegas and you turn right. Then you go to, okay, and then there you go. And then we moved to Apache Junction. I graduated as the valedictorian of Apache Junction High School in 1992, and I was a basketball player. And so I played for a couple of years at MCC, and then my mom said, David, you're going to be an engineer, because my older brother's an engineer and my younger brother's an engineer, and I was going to be an engineer too. So I went to a school called Colorado School of Mines, and I realized quickly I didn't want to be an engineer, and I realized that my path was different. And so I transferred to NAU, perhaps because my wife was going to NAU at the time, and I graduated with a BS in mathematics from NAU, and I started teaching right away. And then throughout my teaching career, I've sought to improve myself. So I got a master's, curriculum and instruction from ASU. Dad does hold that against me. And then I did my principal certification and my superintendent certification through NAU throughout my 27-year career. Let's talk about my professional journey. So what has prepared me to be standing in front of you today with the knowledge and experience to be a superintendent? Well, my first job was right down the street at Gilbert High School in 1998. And I was a high school math teacher and I was a basketball coach. And at that time, it was probably flipped. I was probably a basketball coach and I taught math. And people called me Coach Lots, and everything was about that. And I really enjoyed coaching. I ended up my last 3 years at Gilbert, I was head varsity basketball coach. And then I had an influential person in my life, Dr. Charles Santa Cruz, my principal, come to me and said, Dave, I think you can do more than be Coach Lots. Here's a couple books on leadership. I want you to join a committee talk about reinventing Gilbert High School in the year 2004. And so I joined that committee and I started expanding my scope a little bit more about what it means to be a leader and what I can do differently. I had an opportunity to open Perry High School in Chandler, and I transferred there, and I was a math teacher only. It was the only year that I taught and didn't coach, and I thought, wow, this is pretty incredible for what I'm able to do in the time that I have. I started taking my leadership classes, and then my principal there, his name's Dan Serrano, I'll never forget. I owe a lot to him, because I said, Dan, I want to get and be a principal. He said, that's great, I have a dean job. And he's like, I'm not going to hire you, I'm hiring somebody else. I already know it. But there's going to be an opening at Santan Junior High, and this is the end of June. I was on tap. I was going to be the calculus teacher at Perry High. And if you don't know, that's a hard, not a lot of people teach calculus. And Dan said, hey, this is your passion. You go be the dean. You go be the assistant principal, and I'll find a calculus teacher with 2 weeks before school starts. A big lift for him, but it allowed me the opportunity to jump into administration. I spent 4 years at Santan Junior High in the middle school environment. I'd never taught middle school. I'd never been around middle schoolers before, and wow, did I learn a lot. And God bless all of you middle school teachers and administrators. I had an opportunity to go to Basha High School as the assistant principal of curriculum. What does that mean? Probably my most favorite job that I've had, and that is I got to write a master schedule, because it's a giant spreadsheet and it's a giant puzzle, and everything is about what can I do to make sure that the kids get what they request. And I loved it because it kept score, and I could see if I could beat the other schools, which I did. After 2 years, I became the principal. Became the principal of Basha High School down in Chandler. And if I were to say if there's one position that's prepared me to become a superintendent, it's the principal of a high school. Now remember, at the time when I was at Basha, 2,500 kids. We had 160 to 180 employees on campus every single day. And as the principal, you're in charge of all of them. And it is just nonstop going, making decisions, supporting kids, putting in initiatives, responding to the district nonstop. And I think that really helped prepare me. While I was at Basha, a few things happened. We were an A+ school. We were an A-rated school. We were a school of distinction for civics education, and I got to start be a part of two unique programs. One of them is the Accelerated Middle School, which is a 6, 7, and 8 that's housed on Bash's campus that my kids attend. And then the other one was the Institute for Cyber Operations and Networking, which was the first joint venture to develop a student to come out with cyber security AA degree after 4 years. Because of the successes of Basha, I was able to apply here in Higley. And so then I came in and I applied and was selected as the Executive Director of Secondary Education and Athletics, which is the job that I've held for the last 5 years. I'm pretty sure, if I read everything right, I'm the longest tenured now at 5 years, Executive Director of Secondary Athletics. And I'm really proud of what we've done in the 5 years that we've been here. I will tell you right now, the district looks very different from 2020 now here in 2025. And there's a lot of things, that overseeing secondary means the high schools and the middle schools. Wow, I'm talking way too much. Okay, 20 minutes is not a lot, guys. Okay, the growth of the high schools through that time, I think, has been a really important challenge that I've dealt with. Okay, I'm a relationship-based leader. I think it's so important in what we do, and I realized, and I'll go really quick through this, that when I looked at all the pictures getting ready for this slideshow, that apparently when I see someone who is twinning, I like to take a picture with them. And so here's some administrators wearing our Sossaman gear. Or perhaps I have, oh yeah, so that's me and Big Al dressed the same, right? And I just like taking pictures. John and I, here we are dressed again. Yeah, so it seems, oh, hey, Lynette, there we are. I forgot to warn you, you're in the presentation tonight. And then here we go, Bruce and I. And so it's just funny how it shows up that, oh, you didn't know that was coming, huh, guys? Right? But when you're out on campuses and you see a connection with someone, for me, it's what I'm wearing, and it's the better. That's, here we go. Twinning is winning. All right. Core beliefs. Education, first and foremost, is a relationship-based business. I want to take 3 seconds right now and do something for me. I want you to take 3 seconds, and I want you to think about the most impactful teacher you ever had in your life. How many people started nodding, started smiling, had a positive image that came out of them because that relationship that you had with that teacher was so important? So to me, the most important relationship is the one between the teacher and the student. My job as a leader is to provide all the opportunities I can for the teacher and set up systems to support the teacher, what I can control, for what they can do with kids. Because student achievement and student growth is what we are here to do. If not, we don't need schools. But I can control and support that teacher. It takes a village. We know that. That's part of it, with educators, students, parents, and the community together. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as I talk really fast. All right, how do we help our students succeed? There's an educational thought leader out there, Mark Perna. Some of you guys have heard of Mark before. He really talks about what are we doing in education with Gen Z students. We need to give them a competitive advantage, a personal competitive advantage for them to learn the lifestyle and get prepared for the lifestyle that they want. Career ready. Part of a huge thing is college for every kid going to college, right? But career ready, are we giving them the skills that they need for the lifestyle that they want in the career that'll meet that lifestyle? And so we're going to talk about, then we jump into why Higley. Why do I want to be the superintendent? What's my time check? Left? Ooh, okay. I want to be the superintendent. All right, because I'll be honest with you, this is the only superintendent position I've applied for. There's a lot of superintendent openings across the valley. This is it. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to be in Higley. Why? I'm part of it right now. I'm part of a cohesive group of complementary leaders at the district office who are putting together a plan to help us navigate obstacles that we have in front of us. I'm uniquely involved in all of this right now already. And for us to continue to face the challenges that we have moving forward, I'm part of it. I'm living it as we go. Keeping the continuity of our leadership team intact is really important. We know that Higley is a small town with a big town feel. But together, and it's so important together, because it's not about one person. It's about all of us and all of us in this room. Together we can and we will provide limitless opportunities for students to succeed, partner with parents through open and consistent communication, engage with community and strengthen the bonds between businesses, higher ed, municipalities, faith-based leaders, and the districts. We can do that. And then finally, we have to have an attitude where we turn obstacles into opportunities. And it's a really important mindset for us to have. All right, Team HUSD, I've talked about our team as a group of leaders together. We also have a team of site-level leaders together, and it's important that we support each other and maintain high expectations for each other, to maintain high expectations for who? The most important person for the relationship, which is that teacher. How can we continue to attract and retain the best teachers and the staff? Because that's what's going to impact our kids, and that's what's going to impact our community. So what does that mean for me? I got to provide necessary curriculum resources, professional learning. I'm really excited about a change that we have site-based instructional coaches now to support a teacher when they're struggling that's non-evaluative. It's huge. And then focus on building effective professional learning communities. When we talk about limitless opportunities, what we're talking about is programs we already have. I don't want to lose any of the programs that we have, whether it's DLI, whether it's GATE, whether it's CTE, whether it's Leader in Me. We need to keep those together because our community wants that. And so we have to look at a way that we can support those programs and make sure that they're achieving what we want. Education's always changing. Matter of fact, it's pretty cyclical. But right now, we talk about career academies and career pathways, which is what I was talking about at Gilbert High in 2002. But now it's back. And so we got to continue to look and say, how can we have a lens for our kids so they can see what this possibly is? Where's their connection to their future? I don't know, you can nod your heads if you were involved in an extracurricular activity when you were in school. How important are extracurricular activities and opportunities to our kids? So important. And even though I'm the athletic director, it's by far, athletics is a drop in the bucket. But we need to support the arts, and we need to support civic engagement. We have those programs where we have to continue to support them. And finally, our next generation for opportunities, we're going to talk about how do we incorporate AI into daily learning, because it's here. It's here, so how can we do it safely to protect you and your kids when we're looking at AI? All right, partnering with parents, transparency about decisions and site information. Transparency is that huge word, right? How do you know what's happening? We can communicate. If we're making a decision and we can't explain it to you, then we're not making the right decision. So we as a group, as a collective group, have to be able to explain the decisions that we make. You're not going to like every decision we make. I learned a long time ago as a principal, I'm never going to please everybody. Because as soon as I try to please everybody, I please no one. So how do I make decisions? I make decisions based upon what I think is the most fundamental relationship that affects student success, the teacher and the student. And if we continue to focus on that, we'll do great. We need to celebrate our successes, guys. As an educational group, we're not the best at shouting from the rooftops how great we are, and we are great. Higley is wonderful. It's a wonderful district that provides great opportunities. Our schools, our community hubs, we have community schools. They're smack dab in the middle of it, and we know that the strength of a community, one of the backbones is a strong public school system. And finally, we ally with parents in the growth of their children. Sometimes that growth occurs through opportunity of making mistakes and learning, and their kids, and we help them learn. Oh, that's the wrong way. Okay, and how do we engage with the community? First thing my job is, now this is where I get to jump in a little bit, I got to listen and learn. So I'm already part of working with the Gilbert Chamber, working with the Queen Creek Chamber, Mesa Workforce Development. The airport's still in the Mesa, in case you don't know. And so we get invited because it's smack dab in the middle of our district is the airport, but working with them on what opportunities they have. Faith-based organizations throughout our community, that's a connection we need to build, right? Because they want their growth for their students the same way that we do. So let's work together to do that. I sit on boards for CGCC and attend things with ASU and Grand Canyon already that allow us the opportunity to learn what they're doing and be able to connect. We have events that are important to us as a community. Chinese New Year, Fine Arts Festival, events on the campuses. Probably the biggest, if I were to ask you guys, what's the biggest event that we hold every single year? We hold 2 of them. And they're on the last day of school, and their graduation. And nothing is funner as a principal than standing and getting to talk to 7,000 people. I tell you what, it's awesome. But, okay, how do we take those and continue to promote what we're doing within our community? I know I'm almost out of time. I got to be involved in something called the Gilbert Leadership Class 32. It's really a wonderful way that I got to make connections with people. I got to go to First Responders Day and make connections. And this is what it's about. We talk about relationship-based leadership, but it's relationships that are important. How do we make connections? How do we know when we have someone that we're going to call if we need help? And so you get involved in organizations like this, the Gilbert Leadership Class 32, where, I believe it or not, SRP took 11 of us up in a helicopter and we toured all of the dams that SRP is responsible for. One of the coolest things I have ever seen, ever. What a great experience. But it allowed me to make connections within the community, and that's what's important as a superintendent that I can help drive. And finally, this is my last one, I promise, Karen, I'm almost done. We have some obstacles in front of us, guys, and we cannot shy away from these at all, okay? We know that we're sitting here when we talk about finances, and for those of you who attend board meetings, you know there are two things that we have to look at. One is declining enrollment, and there's a lot of different speculation out of there. Here's a simple answer on declining enrollment. This year, we are going to graduate 300 more seniors who are leaving us than we have kindergartners coming in. Right off the top. 300. And so when you look at the projections we're doing, and I'm stealing Tyler's thunder right here, okay? 300 kids directly off the top because they're not coming in as kindergartners, and there's lots of different reasons for that. But what I wanted to get onto this one is people ask, what are you going to do about it? And this is what I would talk about at, please give me 2 more seconds. This is what I would talk about at Basha. Every interaction, who's the greatest mouthpiece for our district? It's our families. And every interaction that we have as a district employee is an opportunity to spread our story to a member of the community, to a family, so that when they're sitting in their parking lot, or they're out to eat, or they're at church, there's that conversation about what Higley can do and Higley can bring. So how can we change this mindset?
Thank you.
One interaction at a time. I know I'm listening. One interaction at a time. All right, and thank you very much. I appreciate the 20 minutes. I would have loved 45.
You're welcome.
All right. Oh, sorry, last one. Hey, we got this. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now start the question and answers of 25 minutes. And let me set the timer. And Mr. Lotzenheiser, how would you plan to foster strong relationships with parents, community members, and local businesses to support the district's success?
And so I feel like I've already started to touch on this. But what I really want to emphasize is that when they talk about, when you ask, how will I, the response is, how will we? I am a member, okay? I am a member of a leadership team here at the district office called Cabinet, right? I'm a member of the wider leadership group called the General Administrators, okay? And I'm a leader of a giant organization where I can model, and then this is our responsibility as a team. This is not one person's responsibility. We just talked about one interaction at a time with how are we going to talk to parents and engage with parents. Okay, we have very formal methods to do that. We have board meetings. We have communication. You know what we found? The parents read the communication from the school much more than they read the communication from a district. Okay, so how do we incorporate our message into what the school's message is? Because you guys will click that one, but if you see maybe message from Higley USD, it might not be as important. So we need to be targeted in that. How do we connect? We connect through social media platforms that we celebrate our successes. We have a public relations and marketing team that's going to do that, where we support our families to be able to create that. I think we need to take advantage of events that we do have. What are the other largest events that we have other than graduation? Anyone have any idea? Probably the most well-attended ones? We have Fine Arts Festival, that's one. We have football games on Fridays in the fall. How can we use and leverage that to be able to celebrate the stories when we have a captive audience that are interested? Because we have these feeder groups that go into Williamsfield and go into Higley. How can we leverage that to do it? When we talk about businesses, we already have some processes in place, like the business partner breakfast. I think the next step in doing that is using our contacts at the Chamber of Commerce, okay? and any businesses that we have to be able to tell our story, invite them in, and ask them what's going on, whether it's a business council and or same thing with parents, a formal parent council, which I know is done in other districts, so that they have a voice and are able to talk to us. That's how we can connect and engage. Right? Those are the formal processes. What's the informal process that we connect and engage? Every interaction that we have, every possibility that we have. So for cabinet, and we've already talked about it, what does that mean? That means visibility. That means attending extracurricular events. When I was a high school principal, that's what it was. There was an event every night, and I'd go to make 3 out of the 5 nights. I'd get to be home a couple of them. But that's what we need to do, because now when I'm standing on the sidelines or I'm at the drama production and I'm watching the play, then I'm interacting with parents. And I think that's how we continue to sell our story about what we're doing. So we have formal ways to do it and informal ways through the interactions that we have.
What is your approach to school safety, and how will you work with law enforcement and staff to keep students safe?
So honestly, school safety is the #1 important thing that we can look at parents and say, we are going to make sure that we can keep your kids safe. And how do we do that? And I need to applaud the efforts. Again, it's a we, it's not an I. It's a we as a team. What are we doing to provide immediate response, which is our camera systems, right? Which is our security guards, which is perhaps piloting vape sensors, and looking at those different things that you can see about keeping kids safe. That's a really important thing that we focus, and when you look at and I'm proud of the work that we've already done in Higley. When you look at what we are doing to make sure that we have those physical plant and the safetiness of the physical plant, our safety and security team here at the district, that's working with it. We work with law enforcement like this already, guys, and I don't know if you're aware. We now, through the school safety grant, have an SRO or SSO on every single one of our high school and secondary campuses. They can also go down and support the elementary campuses with need be. And the communication we have with Gilbert PD is fantastic. And with Queen Creek PD, we have that in place. And we have to continue to have those conversations and engage with them in how can they support us and share with us as things are moving forward. And so when you talk about the safety of what our students are doing, then we have the safety of exposure, and how do we make sure when we have devices that we have appropriate filters on them so that kids aren't going to where they're not supposed to go. And that's working with our IT department to make sure that we have filters and things in place so that we're keeping them safe when they're exposed to the technology that we provide them. I can't control what they do on their phone, but I can control what they do on my device. And I can also help and teach them what's appropriate things to do, and especially going through social media. I think that that's another important thing when we talk about safety on our campuses.
What steps would you take to improve parent and community involvement in decision-making processes?
Again, I'm going to trumpet the we, because as a cabinet, many of you guys just received a survey. It's probably not the most exciting survey that you've ever seen in your whole life, but it's a survey that's absolutely necessary so that we as decision makers can make recommendations to our governing board should we need to continue to reduce our budget. And so when we give a list of different options, and you're going to see, for all of you who are going to come to the board meeting on March 4th, you're going to see in more in depth what our responses to that survey looked like. But that's a way that we can actively engage with parents so they can give us feedback on what's happening. And I think that's an important thing that we do. I look at modeling a program that's used in Mesa right now, where each campus asks for a couple parent volunteers, and they come in and we have a parent council. And so we meet as a parent council. We've already started, and this is a shout out to Superintendent Richards right here, our Superintendent's Advisory Council of Students, where we have 6th through 11th grade students come and talk to us about it. We can do that with our parents as well, and to get it, because we know we have active and engaged parents within our community. I mean, I look at this turnout tonight, and how fantastic is this? I look at the turnout that we had from our community meeting, talking about what were happening with the possible override continuation and the survey we went out, and the fact that we had all these people here that weren't here to yell at the district, they were here to understand more. Let me know more. Why is this happening? What's going on? And then that's our education of what happens. But that important idea of connecting And then the other part about connecting from a district perspective is one thing. But really, it's then the focus down back onto the school level and what are they doing to connect and to draw people in. And that's the directive as a superintendent. Then I can help and support from our principal's perspective. What are we doing to draw parents in and get them onto our campuses? You know, it's funny, we'll have a lot of people come to a secondary basketball game or something like that, but sometimes we don't have a lot of people who'll jump in and help out at different times during the day, and it's up to that site level leader and site level group to help us as a district work to make a welcoming environment for our parents to come in and support us.
Why is an affordable, quality public education available to all children important to society as a whole?
All right, I'm going to ask you to repeat it one more time because I think there was a bunch of words right in the middle.
Why is an affordable, quality public education available to all children important to society as a whole?
Now more than ever, public schools have the ability to bring us together and to be that hub of our community. Yes, we know that there's competition out there everywhere, divisive, but our goal and our want is to be able to bring our communities together. Where are our schools located? Not on a busy major street. Most of the time it's smack dab in the middle of a community. That's why we are community schools, and we are that hub of interaction where we have people from a variety of backgrounds and we are bringing them together, and that is so important when we look to our future. We talk about different generations and expectations for different generations. And so what's our job as the school? To help present this next generation, this Gen Z, before we get to Gen Alpha, right? We look at Gen Z and their wants and desires, honestly, guys, are different than ours. And so this public education that we can provide that can be focused on what their needs are to help prepare them, again, for the lifestyle that they want and the career that can get them their lifestyle they want is super important. And so I think honestly, I look at public education and the school system as the background to a strong, vibrant community. Remember, we're 24 square miles. We're not huge. We got a lot of people, but we're not huge. So how do we continue to make this Higley pocket a vibrant place for us to grow and learn together?
Do you think public education is adequately preparing students for life after graduation? If yes, give an example. If no, how would you work with the board and community to make better prepared students?
Yes. Okay. We can give some examples. Here's the thing. When we talk about preparing people and preparing kids for life after high school, right, we have to give them the skills to be able to navigate that. It's very interesting. We're in the superintendent's conference room, or superintendent's council, and we were asking the kids, hey, if we were to add a new program, if we were to add something new to our schools, what would you want it to be? And do you know what they wanted? Financial literacy, okay? And true life skills outside of the home, right? That's what they're looking for. And so within public education, I think that we have to reimagine what our expectations are for our students to make sure that we can meet that need. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that was the responsibility of the parent, right? Dad taught me how to balance my checkbook, absolutely. And we did that in that process, and I got that first bank account when I was 7 years old with like 35 cents in it, and then we kept that little ledger. I don't think that happens anymore. How can we continue to support the students for what they need? Are we doing a good job? Absolutely we are. Our kids are successful. Our programs are successful. There's something I'm really proud in HUSD is our career and technical education at our high schools. We have so many different opportunities for students who want to do something different. We just had the Gilbert Leadership, Class 33, come and tour our police science labs and classes at Higley High School. And you're saying, what even is that? Right? So here we have a criminal justice program where we're teaching kids how to become first responders at high school. Because if that's their passion and that's their need, then we're providing that niche for them. We have early childhood. where we have students that they're already learning and already interning, and maybe some of you who own businesses that need those kids can come and hire them because they're learning that on our campuses. At the same time, we have these core academic classes that are preparing kids to go to college and not just get to college, but to succeed in college. And how many of you, raise your hand, how many of you guys got a kid in college right now? All right? How many of them came back from their English 101 class and said, whoa, this is way easier than high school? I know mine did. And I'm like, yeah, because you probably attend regularly, and that doesn't happen in college. But anyway, okay? But we provided that because we gave them a challenge, right? And we challenged them in high school so they can go and be successful in college. So, yeah, I'm up here, a product of public education. I'm so proud of it, and we are succeeding. Are there areas where we can do better? Absolutely. Please understand that we're never perfect, and that's our job as leadership to provide and find ways that we can improve our resources and can improve how we are supporting students.
What is your philosophy on curriculum oversight, and how will you ensure all materials align with Arizona State standards?
And so I think with curriculum oversight, and obviously this has been a hot topic at a lot of our board meetings already, right? Where do we go into terms of being efficient on curriculum oversight? There are state statute, and there's laws, and there's district policies that we follow, and as a superintendent, I will uphold to make sure we're following those processes to make sure we have the appropriate curriculum. You know, books was a big one, and it's been a big one within our community. And what happens with books? What was our response? We put together a parent committee and of teachers and parent and community to review, to come back and give the governing board, who ultimately makes that decision, an informed decision about what we want to add. Right now, we're planning on going out for English curriculum adoption next year. We've started working on it. The goal is to be able to come to the governing board and present that to them. We're going to follow the laws and the process that is prescribed by our policy to make sure that we're providing the most relevant curriculum that we can, which includes a huge one. It includes opportunities for the community to come in, review it, and give us feedback on it. And I will tell you, it's great to talk about, but we'll have 4 people come and do it. Okay? That's what happens, right? And so we know we're going to make it available. We're going to try to get as many people possible, right, to come and view and to give us feedback so we can make that educated decision when we're proposing to the governing board, this is what our curriculum needs to be. But we're going to follow those processes. And I think the idea of curriculum oversight, it's very important when you look and you follow the process, and there's safety in doing that. And when people step outside of it, then it's our job as leadership and site leadership then to put them back and make sure they're following our processes.
What is the single biggest challenge you think our students and our educators face? How would you address this issue?
Cell phones. Honestly, it's this little device here that allows them to have a different personality than they have in person, allows them to disconnect with the people that are around them, allows them to only focus and listen to a certain point of view because that's what's available on these. I think from a school district's perspective, and we've already worked on this within our group, you know, there's this idea that you ban cell phones, right, and do that kind of stuff. That we know that that's not going to happen because I tell you what you're going to have. You're going to go on a high school campus and every kid's going to walk in and they're going to drop a cell phone in the pouch and say, I'm good. And then they're going to take that other cell phone out of their back pocket and be like, game on, let's get this done. But honestly, so I think that we have to work with our teachers to make sure that when they're in the classrooms and when we're providing the appropriate time for instruction, that we make it relevant and we make it interesting to them and we make it so much so that they're not going to want to go onto this device. I think that when we look at professional skills, that's important for us to address, that we embed them within our curriculum so the kids are learning that in order for you to come to work, what does our business people want when people come to work? They want people to show up on time, dressed appropriately, with a good attitude, and they're going to stay the whole day, right? And when I talk to business people, they say, well, I can teach them the skills they need to do, but if they don't do those things, we're missing out. We have a group of professionals that can help with that so much, and that's called our teachers. Every single one of our teachers is a professional. We are trained professional educators, and we need to model that for our students, and that's something that we can control as a district. But honestly, when I look at what's happening, I think, how can we help assist so that these little devices aren't taking over everything that we're doing.
What leadership strategies will you use to foster a positive and accountable work culture amongst staff and administration?
It goes back to the idea that it takes a village. And what I'm going to model is building appropriate professional relationships with my peers, and I'm going to expect our cabinet to do the same. And I'm going to expect our site level leaders to do the same. One of the most successful times I was ever at a leader, and I'll give you an example, is when I was at Basha High School. After 2 years, I was not happy. I wasn't happy because I was trying to be a leader that I wasn't. I wasn't true to my personality. And I wasn't true to what I hold dear into education. And so I came up with an idea that we're going to focus on community. So Basha High, that's our keyword, community. We're going to talk about what's our place within our community, how do we get our kids involved in the community, and then really importantly, and what I control is what kind of community do I build as my employees together? So you know what my goal was? To make them like each other. Because I felt like if they liked each other, they might like kids, okay? And so how do we do that? I do it because I like to have fun. You know, and so what did I do? I designed ways that I could have people interact that weren't necessarily academic in nature, but were social in nature. And then I strategically placed teachers who weren't in the same grade level or the same subject area together to force them so that when they walk down the hallway, they might see a teacher and say hi, and they might not teach anything like that teacher or be around that teacher. And it worked. And it worked. And those years that I had the lowest loss rate of teachers within our district. And I had people at other sites going, hey, I want to come to Basha because we like to feel at Basha. And that's the same thing I think that we do here. It's on a larger scale, but how do we model? How do we get people together so that they can talk and then we can learn about each other? And it's through those connections we make in the community that we build that we can maintain a consistent morale. Because right now, let's be honest, one of the biggest questions that I get are, how are you going to maintain teacher morale knowing that we're losing money? Okay? Because we might not be able to give them any additional money. So we look at the things that we can control for teachers. It's 7:42 p.m., just so you know, okay? Trust me, it happens if you hold your hand too long on your Apple Watch. It does it to me about 3 times at cabinet every Monday. But what can we control for teachers? How can I continue to support them, right? Well, I know that I might not be able to give them financial things. And so to do that, I need to make sure that they have the curriculum resources they need, and I need them to make sure that we have not 20 different district initiatives. Let's keep it simple, guys. Let's have one, and let's get really good at that. And if that one is professional learning communities, because we know how important they are for teachers to talk about their craft and then turn around and support their students, then that's what we're going to do. And there might be other stuff that people want to do, and we'll slow down with that and say, let's make it easy, and then we provide them time. How can we give them time to be able to do it during the school day when we have half days or release days? And that's the challenge that we have, and that's what we can control in terms of supporting. Because I think when we get that, teachers will understand, and our staff will understand that we care about them, and it's not about the financial reward. We care about them, okay? And we want them to do the very best job that they can for kids.
In your current position, how do you attract and retain teachers at HUSD?
Oh, okay, I feel like I kind of answered part of that just a second ago. But in my current position, I'm removed from direct contact with teachers all the time, right? I am. I have people that report to me that have that direct competition or the direct interaction with teachers. So how can I support them? It's by supporting my principals and what I do with my principals and the leadership team that we have in order for them to be comfortable to support their teachers. Sometimes that's direct guidance. Sometimes that's influence through relationships. And sometimes that's supporting them when they have an idea that they want to go with. And they just want to say, hey, Dave, I think this is going to be really great for my campus. I want to institute this. This is the new tardy policy I want to run with. And this is the communication systems that I want to do to be able to sort the students and the teachers. And I say, good, let's figure out how to do it. right? Not every decision needs to be top down. As a matter of fact, I don't want to make any top down decisions like that. I want to have this inherent growth from people who are passionate about what they do, and we figure out a way that they can incorporate it within their classroom. And so for me in my current position, that's how I can support teachers on the campuses, is supporting our site level administration to support them the best we can.
How have you engaged the community in supporting public schools? Please provide some examples.
I showed you a picture of my Gilbert leadership. Like, that was a big deal for me. That's a year, in case you aren't aware of that program, that's a year of your life that you give up, where you're gone at least one Friday a month, if not more, meeting with these individuals. And it was my responsibility to be the education advocate within our group. Like, here I have a captive group of 30 people that I'm going to meet with every month, that I'm going to build relationships with, and I'm going to make sure that when they walk out of it, they know how awesome we are and how proud we are. And that's something that I've done to engage within our community right here in Gilbert already. I think the other engagement that we start looking at is, again, informal engagement with the community and how many events that we're at. I've already told Cabinet a little bit, and it was brought up to me again today. Hey, so does that mean we need to start attending more events at night? Yes, it does. Like, we are the leaders, and you want to see us there, and sites want to see us there, and we want to make sure that we have a pulse for what's going forward. And so that's an example. Gilbert Leadership is an example of how I've engaged with the community and been a part of it. And it's really neat because through that opportunity I've gotten really close to know people at Chandler Gilbert and Sarah Watts at the Gilbert Chamber. And so when they have events and stuff, now it's like, hey, Dave, can you help with this? Hey, can we get involved? What can we do to help? And at the same time, I want to make sure that my current people are also going through it so we continue to spread the wealth of what we're doing.
You have 1 minute. Would you like to make a closing statement?
Just 1 minute.
1 minute, sir.
Okay. I would like to make a closing statement. I want to reiterate to all of you in the room today that my want and desire to be your next superintendent is not because, gosh darn it, I'm ready. I have grown myself all the time, and I'm going to be a next superintendent. Because I don't want to be a superintendent. I want to be the superintendent of Higley. I want to lead this group with the team that we have here today, because we do have obstacles in front of us. We do have challenges that we're facing. I'm a part of those solutions already, and we have a team in place, a creative group of individuals that are working really, really hard to make sure that we're going to make the changes and decisions we can, that we make, taking in multiple perspectives and being very thoughtful with our actions and caring about people. You know, there's that phrase out there, right? It's always darkest before dawn. I don't know how many times I've heard it. It's always darkest before dawn. I tell you what my goal is to make sure that we just have a beautiful sunrise when it's time. So please, I greatly appreciate your attention to me tonight and listening. My family laughs because my dream is to have a captive audience and a microphone. And now we're going to add to it an unlimited time, okay? And then we will go and succeed. But it says it right up there. Hey, we got this. We got this. We can get through this together. And we'll continue to make Higley the best district we can for our students. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Please remember to fill out your survey. Thank you. And we will start again at 8 o'clock. Good evening again, and thank you for continuing to join us this evening for our superintendent search. This is our final forum for this evening. Just a reminder about the format. We will have 20 minutes of introduction and why Higley, and then 25 minutes of questions. So let's see, we do appreciate your feedback, and you're going to hear me say it again at the end. Please fill out the survey and do that by noon tomorrow. If you're just joining us, there is a QR code over on the table that you can use to fill out the survey. Let's see, the next board meeting on March 4th, the board will announce and vote on who will be our next superintendent. This is our third finalist tonight, and let me please introduce Dr. Randy Mellerwine.
Hi, good evening. So I thought I'd start off and introduce myself, Randy Mallerwine, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about who I am, because if I get the opportunity, if I'm humbled with the opportunity to lead the district, it's important that the people know who I am and what I stand for. And so I started out, when I wrote this slide, I wrote father, leader, teammate, and then I thought, well, that doesn't make sense because I couldn't really be a father without my wife. But so I put family. And so those that know me, that know that's my anchor. I don't really do a whole lot. I spend time with my family. I work out in the garage and I work, and that's about all I do. That's kind of who I am, and I want the community to know who I am. And then I'm a leader and I'm a teammate. And teammate is something that I live into. It's not something I just talk about. And I don't have a whole lot of time tonight. So I put a QR code up there because I'm on a podcast for about 2 months ago. And I really get into team and what I believe in team and this idea of psychological safety and how we all come together to solve problems. And I think it's a pretty good representative of how I lead on that QR code. So if you want to know more, there's a little bit there. If you don't, I understand. But so I wanted to really share with everybody tonight who I am as a leader, because that's the most important thing to this community. Who I am and how I lead is the most important thing I feel that this community deserves to know, and what's the most important thing. And so let's see if this clicker works for me. So I thought I would do it through a series of quotes that I use and I teach with. I teach these quotes. So the first thing I believe in my core is that I have to earn everything, and I have to earn my title. And I believe that I have to come to work every day as the leader to earn my title and earn the respect of my teammates, and earn the respect of the community, earn respect of students, earn respect of the wider community as we start to build relationships with industry and partner. And as the leader, I have to be the model in every situation. And I attack everything I do from that lens. And I understand as the leader of a school district, there's a lot of responsibility. I have to read more, I have to learn more, I have to be more every day so I can support the people that rely on me to lead every day. And so that's my first core tenet. Second tenet is I believe in everything I do has to be done with respect and dignity. How I treat people is a reflection of this school district. And I treat people with large amounts of respect and dignity. And I use this quote all the time when I think about it, because when you're in a leadership position, you get put in situations that are tough. You get put in situations that maybe you haven't seen before. And I think about this Viktor Frankl quote all the time, that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And that's the space where I get to choose on how I behave and how I react and how I treat other people. And as the model of the school district, I have to lead with respect and dignity, because there's going to be hard conversations, there's going to be hard things that we have to do together. And as the leader, I have to lead and be the model of that respect and that kindness and that dignity. The piece that holds it all together is this idea of humility. And humility is not me thinking less of myself, but it's thinking of myself less. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I have 27 years of leadership, and I have confidence that I've seen a lot and I've learned a lot and I know a lot, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that can come your way that I don't know. And that's why you build a team and you surround yourself with a team. And I always think of this 70-30 space. I have to hold 30% that I don't know what's better. And to do that, I want to lean into my teammates. And so we sit down, we have honest conversations, we figure it out. Maybe I have an idea, maybe I don't. But if I don't, at least I'm listening for understanding and I'm gaining the wisdom of our collective group, because there's a cabinet in Higley of really smart people. And I'm one member of that team. And sometimes I'm the leader and sometimes I have to follow. But if I don't have the humility to really listen for understanding and embrace better and embrace that somebody else has a better idea, whether it's HR, I'm not an HR expert, but we have one. And I'm not an elementary expert. I have a lot of elementary experience, but I'm not an elementary expert, so I got to lean into that expertise. And I know we have a great finance guy here in Higley, and I need to lean into that. How do we create a plan? How do we do all that? And it's going to be a collective group, and that's how I lead, and I have to do that with large amounts of humility. And lastly, I would like to share this idea on how it brings it all together. When I raise my hand to be a leader, I know that means I have to take the ownership of the entire organization. And that means I have to take ownership of problems I didn't create. I have to take ownership of problems that exist in the community. I have to take ownership of everything that this school district needs to solve to be successful. And I spent 6 years in Higley. It was great years. I built great relationships. Some of you in the hall, in the audience now, I owe a lot of my progression and how my growth to you. And I need to figure out what the new Higley looks like. And if there's things that need to be solved, I got to take ownership of that, no matter if I was here or not. There might be problems that are here from when I was here, and I definitely should take ownership of that. But I have to look at everything from that lens. As the leader, there's no backward step. There's no looking and passing blame. I don't believe in any of that. And so I wanted to share with the group, I'm not sure what my time is, but I wanted to share with the group who I am as a leader, because who I am is probably the most important thing that you guys need to know about me. I mean, I have a lot of experience. I shared it in my bio. Hopefully we'll get to some questions. I can lean into some of that experience, but I wanted to share tonight. I wanted to start out on an introduction with who I am. So if Higley gives me the opportunity to lead, and I get the opportunity to come and sit up there one day with our governing board, you guys know people know who they hired, and they know what I believe in. And so then this other question of why Higley was kind of the prompt, and I think why Higley for me it might be different. I came here to open Cooley Middle School. I don't know how many people know that. I see some of you out there know. And I didn't know anybody in Higley. And we really built a team there. We did a lot of really good things I was proud of. And I share this, what I would say, I share a really deep connection with Higley. When you open a school, you take on a lot of responsibility and a lot of ownership of that building. And I had to bring these 5 factions of people together to be successful, because they took the top grades off the middle school. And so I had to build all these relationships and really listen to people and figure out, how do we get to be successful? And we were pretty successful. We were tied for the second highest achieving middle school in the state. We were very proud of that, and we hung in there, and we dug in, and we stayed the course, and we maintained that for the years I was there. And I built a lot of relationships, and I learned a lot about myself as a leader. And then I got the opportunity to move into a district office position, and I got more opportunity to grow and more opportunity to learn. And that helped me get the position that I'm in today, where the learning has been just exponential. When you're over the largest secondary division in the state, and every day you're responsible for 27,000 students, that's a burden that you have to really respect, and you have to be open. And I've really embraced this idea of being humble to learn. I've learned so much. But I have this connection with Higley that the last time it opened, it wasn't the right time for me. It feels like it's the right time for me now. And what I want to do is I want to come back, and I want to connect to the people and to the community. And I have a relationship rooted in the success we shared when we were a team here. And I have just a desire to bring value back to a place I cared about. So the first reason I want to come back, I want the opportunity to lead, is because I just a connection with the community and the people, and then the culture of Higley. I, as a person, share a lot of values that I think this community shares. I've been watching Higley from a distance. I know there's been a little bit of administration change, but there's been continued success. It's an A district. It stands out. It has a lot of respect for the achievement, but I still connect here, and I still feel very connected to the community, and I have a lot of the same values. And obviously, with the high standards that Higley holds itself up with, I still have those. And I think it's a really good opportunity to connect somewhere that I feel already just a really natural connection to and a care for. And lastly, it's about this opportunity to contribute. I got an 11-year-old. Who knows how long I'm going to work, right? He's in 5th grade. So I got a while. And I would love to be able to come back to Higley with everything I learned, with the people I care about, and bring the value that I've been able to grab over the last 6 years. My relationships with ASU, my relationships with industry, my relationships with AASA, and some of the national organizations I've been able to be affiliated with. I've learned a ton in the last 6 years, and I'd love to bring that contribution back to Higley and be able to build upon a legacy of success. And it's not about changing Higley. It's about improving the things that are going on well here. And I think I've learned a lot. I think I can come back and we can get better every day, 1% every day, and build on the successful things that are going on in Higley. And if there's places where we need to innovate, I have that experience as well. I think one thing that I can really bring to Higley to contribute is this idea on how to connect the business, how to connect the industry, how to bring industry partners into our schools to connect with our teachers. Our teachers have a huge job. It's hard, and they're in isolation. 173 competencies the state code says teachers need to embrace to be competent. That's almost impossible. And so we need to get people not working in isolation. And so I think that my experience with that, I can bring those industry partners in, I can make those connections, and I have a track record of doing that. I'd like to be able to bring that contribution back to Higley to just add one more piece of value to an already successful school district. And then lastly, and I'm not sure where I'm at with time. Oh, so I'm much quicker. One thing I believe in is you owe an organization to leave it better than you found it. And a lot of times you see superintendents come and go. The average superintendent in this country lasts for like 2.6 years. And the district is in kind of disarray every time it changes over. My brain works in building capacity, building the next level of leadership. And so I've done that in the district I'm in. I build leaders, I mentor people. If you ask me what I care about the most, I care about leaving people in a better place than I found them, helping them reach their goals, mentoring them. I just want to bring value to every single human being that I get to be on a team with, and I can bring that to Higley. I know Higley's got some really good people I've got to meet in the last, I don't know how many days it's been, like the last 2 weeks it feels like. I've got to meet some new people that I didn't know, and I'm anxious to get to know them. What are their goals? What do they want to become? How do we improve capacity within an organization so if Randy Mallerwine explodes or retires, the organization is in a good place? And really good leaders think about that. And so I really think in those terms. If you look at the work that I've done, I left good leaders when I left Higley. I'm going to leave good leaders if I get the opportunity to come here and leave Mesa. And I feel really proud that I've left an organization into a position where they can still be successful. So as I think about why Higley, I mean, it means something to me, but I also think I can bring something that can mean something to Higley. And so that's the relationships and the care and the people that I shared, 6 years with. I mean, my son was born when I took over Higley. I spent 2 days at home with my wife because we had to open a brand new middle school. And, my daughter was this big when we were doing growth mindset in this district. And I remember her up and down the hall while I've been on working, and she's on her scooter. And I got a little video of her talking about her growth mindset when we were bringing that research to our kids on what we wanted our kids to. We wanted that growth mindset. We wanted our kids to have that mindset that you can be anything. You're just not there yet. And I remember that when I was in Higley, and then my family was a part of that, and that just doesn't leave you. And I remember, I don't know if there's any of the leaders that were on my team, I mean, I teared up when I told everybody goodbye when I left. If I get the opportunity to come here again, I'm gonna tear up when I leave where I'm at. That's just who I am. I care, and I'm gonna bring everything I got to wherever I am, and that's who I've always been. And so the quote I want to leave with, I mean, there's a special quote, and I'll explain why, because I have time. The difference between a successful person and others is not the lack of strength, not the lack of knowledge, but rather the lack of will. And so why that quote is important is because we're all going to face struggles, and we have to be resilient, and we have to persevere. And it's the most important thing that we teach children. This quote is special because I put that quote on the gym at Cooley Middle School when I entered 12 years ago. And I thought long and hard. I went through all these quotes. We didn't have ChatGPT back then. It was a lot more difficult than now. And I was like, what quote symbolizes what I believe is the main thing that we have to teach children? And the main thing is we need to teach children, we need to help children understand to persevere, because we're all going to fall down, and we got to teach them to get up. And there's a very special way to do that. And I've learned how to do that. I learned a lot while I was here. I learned a lot where I've been. I really want to bring everything that I know back to Higley. And hopefully I'm here for the next 9 years and can bring some stability and consistency, because the community deserves that. And so that's who I am. That's who I am in my gut. And I'll share with you what this quote means to me, and I'll pledge this. If the school board decides that I'm your guy, and they decide that, you know, I'm going to be humbled with the opportunity to lead, I will not let this community down. I've never let any community down. I've never failed, and I won't fail now. And I'll work as hard as I can to prove to everybody here that they can trust me, because together as a team is how we can move this district to the next level. And it doesn't have far to go. It's a great district. There's great people here. I was walking classrooms today. There's evidence of really good instruction. I know Mrs. Richards well, and I know how smart she is, and I know she's done a good job. There's a foundation in Higley that can go to the next level. I have the experience to do that. But I'll tell everybody, I won't let you down, and I'll find a way to be successful if I get the opportunity to lead in Higley. And so with that, we'll go to questions, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me reset the timer. Okay. All right, first question. How would you plan to foster strong relationships with parents, community members, and local businesses to support the district's success?
Well, I mean, it starts with just being authentic, being able to communicate, being able to listen. I mean, my form of communication is listen for understanding. And so once I can really understand where other people are coming from, and I lean in with empathy, then I can understand how to communicate back. And it begins with building trust. I already have a lot of connections in the community. I have a good relationship with Sarah Watts, the president of the chamber. I've already talked to her about making introductions, helping me connect with local business, but also local industry. But building relationships is about listening empathetically and then communicating with respect and dignity and transparency. And not every relationship is built the same way. You have to differentiate the way you communicate with everyone. And that starts with trying to understand everyone and understand everybody's perspective. Community, I think in public education, I mean, we know where this country has been politically for a number of years, and for whatever reason, the community has lost faith in public school. It's my job to build that trust back. It's my job to lead a team that's going to go out and build that trust back. That's going to be by being present, being in the community. I have a plan to communicate with, the Gilbert Chamber, find out where I need to be. I was on Gilbert Leadership. I helped build that leadership curriculum I think that they're using now. So I have relationships there already. I would want to get back and restart those relationships again. You always feel bad when you see somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while that you care about. Like today, I'm out and I see John Dolan, And I care about John. John was my guy. I mean, we spent a lot of time learning together. And I hadn't talked to John in a few texts here and there, but like we picked up right where we left off. Started talking about leadership, started talking about books, started talking about, the future of school. And so to build those relationships, it's just about being authentic, and it's about building trust, telling people the truth, not making promises you can't deliver, and just listening. And for me, it's just something that's always come natural. I mean, I look around the room, I see people in the room that I've known for 12 years. And I run into Phil in the hall, and it's like we never missed a beat. And so relationships are something that comes easy to me, but it's because I'm very intentional about how I listen and how I communicate. And so I would just lean into how I've always been and use the same skills that I used when I was Cooley, I used when I went to Mesa, and I'll use when I come back. But it's about building trust and transparency and communicating through listening.
Thank you. What is your approach to school safety, and how will you work with law enforcement and staff to keep students safe?
So, I mean, that's a complex question. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of things that happen in the community that we can't control as a school. Generally, my experience has been that the schools are much safer, but they do reflect the community. So in the last 6 years, I've been probably the point of most of the major security that's gone on in Mesa Public Schools. I have a great relationship with Mesa PD. And again, it comes from understanding their role, understanding our role, understanding, clearly communicating to them the things we have in place, our standard operating procedures on how to communicate to them. And so what I would need to do is work with Gilbert PD to relearn what their standard operating procedures would be on communication. So I already know those protocols where I'm at now. I would just get into a space with them where I could understand what do they need from us, really clearly articulate what we need from them. Where I'm at now, we have weapons detection in all our high schools. We have vape detectors and sensors in every bathroom. We have AI in our cameras, although the community doesn't know that. It's a secret. And what I can tell you is the research is clear. The very first correlate to an effective school is safe and orderly. So we work hard as a district to create classroom management and train our teachers for orderly. It's the district's job to work with local law enforcement and our administrators to create safety. A lot of those things can come with some proactive approaches to keeping gates locked, exteriors secure, also having security, a very clean security plan, where are security guards placed, what are their certain roles. There's a lot of systems that can go in place that can enhance the security right away. I don't know what that looks like at the secondary schools, and I'm not sure if there's security. I would doubt there's any security at your elementary schools. Haven't really heard of that anywhere, but it would be, first thing I would do is talk to principals, talk to the community, listen, is there a concern? What are the concerns? And then start looking at chipping away on how to address them. But I would start out with sitting down, having meetings with the chief, and then finding out, talking to the SROs, talking to the captains that work in this beat, and really find out what do they need from us for communication and what do we need from them. The other thing is looking at, I would need to be updated, and I would update myself pretty quickly on what is the policies in Higley. So for the last 6 years, the policies in Mesas are different from the policies that were here when I was here. I've learned a lot about some of the policies we need to put in place to keep our schools safe. And so it would start off with, again, I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I'm gonna have to listen. I'm gonna have to be really keen to listen for understanding and figure out what is working and what needs to be refined quickly. And so, but it would start with a really clean relationship with law enforcement. And when I was here, I had a great relationship with the SROs and law enforcement. I have a great relationship now. When I was in Cartwright, I had a great relationship with law enforcement. I always have a good relationship with law enforcement. I have a lot of respect for them. And I think that is why I've been able to build quick relationships with them. And so that's kind of where I would start. And then we would figure it out. I did ask John today, I did ask the principal at Williamsfield, has there been any talk of weapons detection? Because I know it's coming to Gilbert. And they're coming to my schools, my teammates, to figure out how to do it. So I know how to do it. If that's something that's the will of the community, it's in the budget, I know how to do it already. But that's down the road. I'm not positive what Higley needs, because this is about Higley. It's not really about what Randy has done. And so I would want to listen to figure that out.
Thank you. What steps would you take to improve parent and community involvement in decision-making processes?
I think the first step that I would do is I would start to try and work hard at building some transparent communication and some connection with the community. And that means I need to be at PTA meetings. I need to be at school events. I need to be at community events. They need to see me. They need to know I'm available. They need to know that I'm approachable. That would be the first layer. The second layer is getting design teams together, finding out from principals who are your key family members that you can bring in. If you're looking to change anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you need to bring a design team together and talk about that as a team, and that needs to be multiple stakeholders. And so I would work with the principals to identify your key constituents, your key parents. But for me, it's going to start with, I need them to see me. I need them to know I'm all in. I need them to know that I'm approachable and attentive, and then really be able to understand who to contact, how to get in front of them, and that's all members of our community. I mean, when I was here, I did a number of different things. I used to meet with the stake presidents to find out, what are the concerns of that community. I used to meet with PTAs over here and figure out what is their concerns, and really just listen. But it's going to start with some really transparent communication and some real honest dialogue, because I think about Higley. You have an A district. You have a history of success here. I'm just in the schools. There's really good instruction going on. How do we pass an override? How do we not get an override passed when the school district's this strong? I think what it's going to take, the leader being out in front, connecting with the community, building a team together where we all connect and build back that trust from the community. And then when we want to have real dialogue, bringing focus groups in and really listening and honoring the dialogue. Some of that's kind of hard sometimes, because usually administrators, we have an idea on what we think we need to do, and then we bring these constituents in, they say something different, and we don't fully communicate the why behind where we're going. We just feel like they've been heard. And so I've learned a lot in the last 6 years that the why is a key. A lot of people can take a lot of things if they know the why. And so that's something that, I would say I've gained a lot of knowledge and becoming a little bit of an expert on how to really describe the why.
Thank you. Why is an affordable, quality public education available to all children important to society as a whole?
So I'm a very, very proud patriot and American. And I think that this is the greatest experiment of democracy that exists on this planet. And that democracy is based on public education, access for all community members to be educated and to grow and to learn and one day move into our communities and get good jobs and be good community members. And the backbone is public education. And I worry that there is a little bit of a movement, and I mean, we're at the focus of it in Arizona. We've been in this world for 20 years, charters, and it's scary because I worry that public education is going to be a place, public schools are going to be a place one day for kids in poverty and special ed kids, and that's not good for our community. And so it is the backbone of our democracy. It is the backbone of civility in a community. And I don't know if there's anything else in the community as important as its public schools. And we have been demonized for certain things that we haven't been able to control in the media and in the community for a while. And a lot of it's not even close to true. But we don't do a very good job telling the community what we're doing well and why we're doing it, because we've always been a place where the kids just come. Public education in general, school in general, people that work have to send their kids somewhere. And we've been able to live off of that as public educators for a long time, but things have changed. And in our state, it is It is a school choice state. Kids travel miles to go to high schools for all kinds of different reasons. Parents will drop kids off at schools really a lot of times because it's on their way to work. And so we have to really tell our community and sell our community, not even sell our community, just tell our community all the great things that are happening in public schools, and it's something we've never had to do. But we have to do it now because the charters do it. They don't offer a better product. They just do a better job telling everybody that they have a better product. They don't. We have the better product. We have great teachers. We have all the resources, all the supports that every kid needs. We're not telling that story. And I'm a public educator, but I think sometimes like a business owner. And I think in this world of we have to be competitive. And we have to figure out what are the areas we're going to generate income because we know our state doesn't fund us. Right now, I know the crisis in Higley is we got to get that override passed. There's phenomenal teachers here, and we got to keep them paid. The charters don't have that problem. They automatically get like $17.28 per school extra because they don't have the ability to go out for overrides. Nobody in the community really knows that or cares. We have to do a better job telling our story, and that starts with me being a really good communicator with our school board and being a really good communicator to our community. But I worry, I mean, it's, I've dedicated my life to public education, and I worry that we're seeing public education is not evolving at the rate that the community is and society is, and we need to, because we got to keep pace.
Do you think public education is adequately preparing students for life after graduation? If yes, give an example. If no, how would you work with the board and community to better prepare students?
So I think public schools prepare kids as well as any other schools are preparing kids. I've seen it my whole career. Kids that come from certain types of families do pretty well, and public school does a pretty good job with that kind of education. But for kids that have to learn different way, or kids that maybe aren't ready for college when they graduate, I don't think we're doing a great job preparing them for community and career. And I think what I've learned in the last 6 years, being hyper focused on listening to industry and listening, is that our kids are entering the workforce without the durability, the durable skills that they need to be successful in an industry that's constantly evolving. Everyone now, when they move into a career, has to be ready to reinvent themselves every 5 years. Reinvent yourself every 5 years. And so the traditional way of teaching kids to learn doesn't work as well anymore. We got to get kids in a space where they're learning what I call deeper and personalized learning. It's like inquiry, design thinking, project-based learning. We have to teach kids how to problem solve, problem identify, and creatively think. And that takes getting into that depth of learning, teacher speak, that level 4 DOK standards and understanding that those are the skills that kids need to start being able to exercise and produce those kinds of outcomes. Critically think, creative think. And I don't know if we're doing a great job of that everywhere. I've been in classrooms where they do an amazing job at it. And I've been in other classrooms where it's, not so much. So we have to work on that consistency across, and it's all schools. It's not just public schools, it's all schools. Because the way teachers need to teach now for the society our kids are going into, it's just different. And we got to get them the training, and we got to get them the exposure to the how. And I've been working on that for the last 6 years. And it's an uphill battle. It's a long stretch. We have really good teachers, but they teach sometimes in a traditional way. And we gotta shift into this idea of deeper learning, where kids are learning how to think and problem solve. And I'm not sure if anyone's doing that really well right now. I think there's pockets of doing it. I can tell you where to go and look at it and see it, and it's happening, but it's not happening at scale. And it's gonna take a team to figure this out. It's gonna take a whole cluster of people, and it takes time. And the biggest hurdle is people want results now, and I understand that. We all do. But to change pedagogy and to change the instructional vision to meet the needs of industry and to meet the needs of what's happening in the workforce now, it's going to take a concerted effort. And so to answer your question, yes, I think public school is doing just as good a job as anywhere else. I think school in general needs to reinvent itself and think about what do we need to do to be better and to get our kids prepared for the workforce. And when you say workforce, I don't want to like get it twisted. I'm talking about vocational ed. When you graduate from college, you go into the workforce. When you graduate from college, you have a career. Some people start out in a career and then they decide, oh, you know, I'm 25, my brain finally developed, I want to go back to school, and they go back to college. The path is not traditional like it used to, and we have to create paths for everyone. And that happens when you teach kids how to think.
Thank you. What is your philosophy on curriculum oversight, and how will you ensure all materials align with Arizona state standards?
Well, I mean, there's a process on approving curriculum that kind of ensures that the resources that we adopt align. So when I think about the word curriculum, I think about the state standards, and when I think about the tools that teachers use, I think about the resources. So you go through an adoption period, you have all your stakeholders, and generally that consistently aligns with the standards. At times there's gaps, and that's when you go out and you find supplemental resources to fill the gaps. I think we put a lot of stake in resources where they're really only as good as the teacher delivering them. And this is a people business, and we got to provide the most support to get our teachers to implement the resources with fidelity. All the resources are research-based, and if done with fidelity, will show improvement. What I've seen as a problem is that you don't put structures in place to ensure the resources are implemented with fidelity. And if you can get the resources implemented with fidelity, and what that is that's really about hyper communication to the teachers on why these resources are going to help you get the desired outcomes you need. Could you repeat the question? Because I think I went left a little bit. Yeah, please, can you read again?
What is your philosophy on curriculum oversight, and how will you ensure all materials align within Arizona state standards?
Okay. As the superintendent, my responsibility is oversight of everything. So I would work with my teammates. I would work with the executive director of elementary, if we're talking about those resources, the executive director of secondary, if we're talking about these resources, and then the greater team as a whole, and look at what is the process we're going to put in place to make sure the board-approved adopted resources are implemented with fidelity in the classroom, and then get the proper training to our teachers to support them. We're only going to be as strong as our teachers. And so how do you support the teachers? How do we get behind them? What are we looking for when we walk in the classroom? I mean, it's a simple concept that you inspect what you expect. And then over time, I mean, you got to give people time. Like you got to give people time to implement something new. But as the superintendent, it's my responsibility to oversee everything. So the responsibility that those resources are being implemented with fidelity is all mine. And so it would be my responsibility to be in the schools and work with my team to make sure they're being implemented with fidelity. And I think through the approval process, we'll make sure that they align. The process in general ensures that it aligns with standards. And then the other thing is there's a lot of waste out there sometimes on supplemental resources. What supplemental resources align to what we're doing, and let's streamline that so we can get our teachers trained the right way and not doubling up on resources. If the approved adoptive resources do this, let's not pay for another supplemental to do the same thing. A lot of times there's IXL, for example. The adoptive resources probably can fit the bill on there, but teachers like this. And so when you're looking at a budget situation where you got to be frugal, you got to align your resources and make sure you're not spending money doubling up on different things. And a lot of that's just working with the cabinet, working with the team, and really listening so we can be as efficient and fiscally responsible on our spending on our resources as possible.
We're at the just under 3-minute mark. One more question for you. What is the single biggest challenge you think our students and our educators face? How would you address this issue?
Single biggest challenge. I mean, there's a lot of challenges. I think our teachers and our students probably have different challenges. One thing I would say is a big challenge for public schools today that haven't been in the past is just the access to information and social media. And what happens is there's misinformation that gets spread out on social media, and something that is not even in the realm of being real has become fact. And that creates stress, drama, angst. Our students have such a difficult challenge that I never had, is because everybody is saying all kinds of things on social media. I'm a parent. I tried forever to keep my daughter off Instagram, and it just didn't work. And so they have all of this, they're going through these hormonal changes. Kids are insecure. You got everybody on social media. And I think that all that misinformation and all this noise that surrounds everything has become something that public education and education in general and kids in general, it's just something that's been unmanageable. And I don't necessarily know if I have a solution for it. I think as the leader of Higley, it would be my job, if I get that opportunity, to really understand what are the things out there, what's the information that's out there that's not true, and how do I get constant communication and constant clarity on what's really going on and what we really stand for and what's really happened in our schools. I mean, I hear people come up and they say things and call to the public, and I have no idea where that came from. And I'm in the schools all the time, and that's just not really happening. That pressure comes back on our teachers. The teachers then are stressed, and they're not at their best, and that puts pressure on our students. And it's a continuum of compression that just doesn't let us be at our best. I believe strongly that we can control the conditions that surround our environment. And if we get the right conditions, people can be at their best. Kids want to feel a sense of belonging. Teachers want to feel a sense of belonging. What motivates people? It's autonomy, having some choice. It's belonging, feeling connected. And it's a pathway to mastery to better themselves. That is Deci and Ryan, that's self-determination theory. We've known this for years, but we don't put those things in place in our schools. And so we need to really lean into what do we do to motivate our people, help them feel a sense of belonging, help them feel connected, and get out clarity on what's really going on and build that trust in the community. But I think more than anything, it's just this age of misinformation where it's just constantly being a compression of things that aren't really existing. And it's making it difficult for everybody at every level. Is that a bell that I'm done?
Yes, it was a bell. And we are done. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Appreciate you being here.